Dude, are you crying? What? What? No, no. I'm a Brawl Stars master, man. What you talking about? Is that the You Lost theme song in Brawl Stars? No. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's like my jam, you know. I like to dance with it on repeat, yo. Right. Well, I was gonna give you like a foolproof guide on how to push trophies in Brawl Stars as soon as possible, but I mean, like, if that's your jam, you probably don't really want that, right? I mean, yeah, right. Okay, well, see ya. Wait. Kairos, I need your tips, man. Hello fellow brawlers, I'm KairosTime and it is time to brawl. Today's video is a foolproof guide on pushing trophies in Brawl Stars as quickly as possible. Foolproof? Are you calling me a fool? We've been over this, man. No, but believe me, I wish I had these tips when I first started playing Brawl Stars. Okay guys, so today's video is going to include the fastest way to get every brawler to 300 trophies with as little effort as possible, and seriously, it is so easy. And after that, we're going to talk about how to get your brawlers from 300 all the way up to 500 as well. Now, the tips in this video incorporate countless hours of my own experience with playing Brawl Stars, and there are tons of little golden nuggets of strategy sprinkled throughout the entire video. So I highly recommend watching the entire video if you really do want to climb trophies as fast as possible. Otherwise, you might just end up like this guy. I mean, that's just sad. Okay guys, step number 1, getting every brawler to 300 trophies by using the survival strategy in Showdown. Okay guys, Showdown is a great place to play every brawler when you first pick them up, okay? It allows you to learn the mechanics of the brawler without having to worry about, you know, letting other teammates down or anything like that. It's also great at helping you learn 1v1 interactions with all of the brawlers in the game. Now, from when you very first unlock a brawler all the way up to 100 trophies, as long as you are using the survival strategy in Showdown, you should easily climb any brawler on any Showdown map in the game. Now, from 100 trophies all the way up to 300 trophies, you can still use the survival strategy on basically every brawler in Showdown really easily, but after 100 trophies, you pretty much need to start playing the right brawlers on their specific maps in order to push them in Showdown. I'll definitely reveal which brawlers work on which maps later on in this video. For now, let's go ahead and talk about what the survival strategy really is. Now, in Showdown, there are basically 2 types of strategies, okay? We've talked about the survival strategy, but then we also have the Arnold strategy. Oh man, did you just get a new voice? Maybe I did. Okay guys, now if you really want to get first in Showdown, you're definitely going to want to focus on playing the Arnold strategy. Basically for this, you go for as many power-ups as fast as you can, and you just basically try to outpower your opponents by chasing them down or waiting for them to come to you into the middle of the map and just pick them off one at a time. This really is the best strategy if you want to end Showdown with that #1 victory, but because this strategy does result in you running into a lot of brawlers throughout the entirety of the match, it's also the most likely strategy to get you killed and cause you to lose trophies extremely quickly. To pull it off, you have to have a huge knowledge of the 1v1 brawler interactions and a ton of experience playing Showdown as well if you really want to make this work out consistently. This means that unless you are playing the best brawler for that map, and you're the most skilled out of the other 9 players, following the Arnold strategy really is just going to result in you being terminated 9 out of 10 times. Hasta la vista, baby. Now, the survival strategy doesn't sound cool as the Arnold strategy. I mean, that's why I had to use the big voice to make it sound all cool. But it is by far the most effective way of guaranteeing a faster and easier ladder climbing experience than in any other way. Essentially, what you do is you use the tactics that I'm going to cover in this video to survive as long as you possibly can. But before we talk about those specific tactics, let's talk about why the survival strategy actually works. Now, in Showdown, at least up until about 500 trophies, as long as you place higher than half of the players in a Showdown match, you will finish the match with positive trophies every single time you play Showdown. You do not need #1. You only need to place 5th or better. Now, the reason why this is so effective is because in other game modes, if you actually do have a loss, that means you lose trophies that you need to regain in another match. So essentially, every single time you lose a match in other game modes, you're wasting 2 matches worth of time. But in Showdown, as long as you get 5th or higher in every single match, you will always gain trophies. That means no time lost. But you can't possibly get 5th or better on every single match in Showdown, right, Kairos? Oh, my friend. You are so wrong. By using the survival strategy, up to about 300 trophies, you can get 5th or higher in almost every single match in Showdown. And most of the time, you'll actually get better than 5th. In fact, a lot of the times, you'll almost guarantee at least 3rd or 2nd. I must know the survival strategy, Kairos. Yeah, man, I will definitely give that to you. So basically, there are 3 core principles behind the survival strategy. The first principle to surviving is to avoid pressure. Now, in physics, pressure is explained by the number of molecules jumping around in an area of space, and the more molecules you have, or the smaller the space, the more likely those molecules are going to bump into each other and cause pressure within that space. Physics! Now in Brawl Stars, pressure is explained by the number of brawlers within a specific area of the map. The more players in an area, or the smaller the area there is, the more pressure and the more likely somebody is going to get taken out. Brawl Stars! Now in Showdown, you want to avoid pressure as much as you possibly can. By doing so, you are less likely to find yourself in a situation where somebody is going to get taken out, and of course that means that there is less likely of a chance that you will get taken out, especially early on in the match. Now I know what you're thinking, man. You're thinking, Kairos, that just means that I gotta run away, right? You would be wrong. Oh, yeah, you're right. Just run away. Seriously, guys. Get into a Showdown match and take the closest brawler to you and just run away from them. I'm not even joking, even if it means giving up those boxes to do so. A lot of the times you should actually just use those boxes as a distraction for the other guy to give you an opportunity to run away. Now typically high pressure places occur where there are a lot of brawl boxes on the map, or on places where brawl boxes are easy to get to. This means that you should actually avoid going to places where brawl boxes are likely to spawn to give those power-ups. Remember guys, power-ups are not the key to survival. They are the key to getting first, and getting first is not your goal. Your goal with the survival strategy is to survive past 5th as many times as you possibly can. And if you want to survive, you should avoid pressure. So seriously, just run away. Now this doesn't mean that you shouldn't pick up any power-ups or you should just completely avoid those power-ups. It just means that you should avoid the ones that attract pressure, okay? If you can find some power-ups that are in places where brawlers rarely go or that people go to last, then those are actually really great places to go. Go ahead and go for it. Grab a power-up or 2 if you can. But once again, if somebody kind of comes up and you don't have enough time to grab the power-up and run away, just run away and let them take care of it, and then you can just avoid those dangerous situations. Now the second survival principle is to stay hidden, okay? The primary way that you're going to do this is by hiding in bushes, since if people can't see you, they're less likely to come close to you and increase the pressure in that area. If I'm gonna be honest, the sooner you can get to a bush without being seen by somebody else, the better. Quick tip, always check a bush before you go into it. Make sure you spread your fire across the entire bush so you know that there's nobody in there. The last thing that you want, guys, is a Shelly coming out of the bush just because she's been waiting to blast your face off. Dang you, Shelly. Now, if you get into a bush really early on and nobody saw you and you're just chilling in that bush, you might get bored, whatever, doesn't matter. If you want, you can practice your dance moves by spinning around in a circle. I am not even kidding, guys. When I am doing this strategy, it's so easy. What I'll do is I'll play on my tablet, then I'll pull out my phone and I'll start responding to YouTube comments while I'm playing Brawl Stars in Showdown. Like, no joke, it's that easy. Now, eventually the poison will push you out of that bush, okay? You don't want to just stay in the bush when poison comes over, that'd be stupid. Now, if nobody is around you, you may consider moving to a bush that is closer to the center of the map before that gas gets close to you. Typically, I will only do this if there are only 5 brawlers or less on the map, because at that point, I have guaranteed that I've gained trophies, and it's less risky for me to actually move. Now, if there are people around you, try to stay in your bush for as long as you possibly can before revealing your location. And once that happens, just be prepared to run away, because once again, remember, avoid that pressure. Now, if somebody is getting close to that bush, depending on which brawler you're playing, you may want to just wait to try and ambush them and take them out if you know that you can burst them down. But there are also a lot of situations where you know that you probably won't be able to burst them down. In that case, just run away. It is not worth it for you to try and face them down. You want to survive as long as you possibly can, and sometimes the difference between getting 6th or 5th really is just a couple of seconds. Typically, if a brawler is running towards your bush and you know they're coming, just running away as you fire back at them is a great way to push them back and also give you some time to be able to get to a safer place. Okay guys, the third survival principle is I will survive. Now the whole strategy behind this is to out-survive your enemies. Just like we said, it's not to get kills, it is not to get power-ups. This is why you must always remember the Kairos mantra. I will survive. At times, you will be tempted to risk your safety for a power-up. When temptation comes upon you, remember the Kairos mantra, I will survive. At times, you will be tempted to risk your safety to get a kill. When temptation falls upon you, remember the Kairos mantra, I will survive. Because I've got all my life to give, and I've got all my love to give. I will survive. I will survive. I will survive. Now guys, I am not even kidding. Focusing on surviving first before everything else really may be the hardest part of this strategy, but it is essential if this strategy is going to work. All it takes is some self-control, guys. Now the reason why this is so important is because most players, up until about 300 trophies, really don't know enough about the 1v1 brawler interactions or about Showdown to really keep themselves alive. By just focusing on staying alive rather than going for kills or power-ups, a lot of the time all the other players will basically all get taken out until it's just you and a couple of other guys. And early on in trophies, a lot of the time, it'll just be you and one other guy. I mean, typically, that other guy is gonna have drunk so many power-ups that he's basically going to look like freaking Arnold Schwarzenegger. Get to the chopper! And there's basically a slim to none chance that you're actually going to beat him, but at least you are guaranteed positive trophies every single time you play that match. And all you really had to do is just hide and wait for the other players to finish each other off. So remember guys, first, avoid pressure. Second, stay hidden. And third, I will survive. I will survive. Now once again guys, this is going to make it so that you can push any brawler on any map up to about 100 trophies. After 100 trophies to about 300 trophies, you will still be able to follow this strategy, but typically you're only going to be able to do so if you play the right brawlers on the right maps that work for those specific brawlers. Now for that, you can actually check out this handy dandy graphic that will show you all of the brawlers and which maps they are good on in Showdown. Go ahead, take a screenshot if you like. Now, it can take some time to get all of your brawlers up to 300 trophies, okay? In that time, you definitely should be playing all of the other game modes, getting all of those keys and things like that, because you're definitely going to want to miss out on those rewards, as well as all the fun that the other game modes have to offer. Plus, after about 300 trophies, you will no longer be able to push all of your brawlers in Showdown unless you're like super pro at Showdown. Now, the reason why is because at around 300 trophies, people that are not subscribed to my channel and are watching these OP strategy tips, subscribe to my channel for more OP tips. Well, those other guys start to catch on to the survival strategy around 300 trophies, which means that more people stay alive for long periods of time. Now, once you can no longer rely on the survival strategy to get up to those top 5 positions, metas start to form in Showdown. That means that certain brawlers become poor options on certain maps, and some brawlers completely become poor options for Showdown at all. In addition, above 300 trophies is where teaming really starts to become prevalent, and that's a whole other topic for debate, which I'm not going to talk about right now. Now it's time to talk about overall strategies and what you can do to get your brawlers from that 300 trophy point up to that 500 trophy point. For this part of the video, I'm going to be covering my best tips to give you an advantage over all the other players in the game. The first tip, and the most important tip that I can give you, is to play the right brawlers for the right game modes and the right maps. Some brawlers are great on one game mode and awful on another game mode. As time is told in the past, the metas kind of shift around, and sometimes what works one time doesn't work. So for that, I highly recommend watching the most recent tier list video that I have on my channel. Now in that tier list, I recommend mostly just playing those S tier brawlers or those A tier brawlers if you want to push as quickly as possible. Tip number 2. A lot of people will actually tell you to never play with randoms, and I think this is pretty good advice for most people, but if you go into a random match, all 3 of you are actually randoms, which means that not all randoms could be bad, right? That's right, guys. Really what it comes down to is playing with skilled players. I definitely think there's something to be said about that player that just wants to pick up the fun, jump into some matches, and they might not have any really skilled bandmates or any really skilled friends that are on at the current moment. In this case, you don't want to just avoid playing because you're being forced to play with randoms. Instead, you should use this as an opportunity to try and befriend as many skilled randoms as you possibly can find. In the meantime, I will give you 2 quick tips to playing with randoms and winning with them. First tip is to only play those S tier brawlers and maybe those A tier brawlers in the tier list with randoms. This allows you to carry them if they're not super well at playing the game or if they're playing a brawler that just doesn't work, like Piper and Heist. The second tip is to try and find those randoms that are actually pretty skilled at the game. You know, pay attention to them. If they're playing well, or if you guys play a few matches and you guys are doing well, make sure you send them a friend request. Pro tip, if you can fill your friends list with 200 randoms that are all really skilled at the game, you'll never have to play with an unskilled player again. Tip number 3, along with going with playing with skilled players, it also really helps to find a band that is filled with active players that are similar to your trophy level, okay? I highly recommend the Nova bands. They've got a great organization and they do a pretty good job of preventing any of that dumb drama from getting into the game and ruining your experience. On top of that, Lex's band family, the Bandits, are also a great choice for a band. My next tip, I think it's tip number 5. I highly recommend not hesitating to upgrading all of your brawlers. If you haven't already, I highly recommend watching my How to Max Your Account as Soon as Possible video for a complete set of tips regarding how to upgrade your brawlers. Tip number 6, do not be hard on yourself with those losses, okay? It can be frustrating to lose, but just remember, the reason why you picked this game up in the first place is to have fun. Now, my next tip, I think this is tip number 7, guys, is to subscribe to YouTubers that give you the best tips. I have a great playlist that will include all of my strategy guides right on there so you don't miss a single tip. And on top of that, there are a lot of other fantastic YouTubers that have been playing Brawl Stars for a long time and who are giving really great tips. And of course, guys, I gotta give a shout out to my man Lex, who did another great video that includes some other tips on how you can climb as fast as you can in Brawl Stars. If you haven't already seen it, make sure you go ahead and check that out. There is going to be a link in the description below so you can watch it as soon as you are done with this video. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you share it with some of your friends that you know are going to need those tips to help push up in the ladder as well. I'm going to share it with my friends Robber Blob and Medikey. Also, guys, don't forget to subscribe for more Brawl Stars guides, entertaining Let's Plays, and Brawler tier lists. For now, this is KairosTime ticking by, and we will see you in Brawl Stars.